Hello again, race fans, and welcome back to the channel. I was just going over some dialogue for my next video, and some of the content in there just gave me an idea. And actually, I'm kind of excited about it, so I'm going to implement that right now, actually, and push that video off a couple of days. Now, it's a new feature on the track, and you have a slot car track, you're always looking to add some different feature, right? Now, if you have Carrera Digital, then you either have or you're familiar with this piece right here, this component. Carrera calls it a chicane. It's not really a chicane, but that doesn't matter. But the fact is that the idea is that it forces you down to one lane, and then you have the option after it opens back up to stay where you are or go back to the lane that you were in. You can also use this in reverse, actually, add a third lane if you like. They're also real popular now as a pit lane entry because the transition not so abrupt as it is with the standard pit lane. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate the functionality of this in this configuration here where it squeezes you down to one lane, and then you have the option later on to switch back. But I'm going to use all two-lane track. And the way that I'm going to force the transition, though, is by using a Pro-X single lane change. Now, if you're not familiar with Pro-X, this was Carrera's first generation digital. It wasn't around very long, just a couple of years before they went over to the D132, which is what we're still using now. Totally different protocol. Now, the thing about the Pro-X track is, like this lane changer, yeah, you can put it into your layout, and the cars will run on it just fine, except that it'll change lanes every single time. Okay, so every time that a car runs over, it will always change lanes. So if you're forcing a lane change, that's going to do the same thing basically as that narrow section for that chicane. And then on the other side, just use a standard D132 lane change opposite way, and now you have the option to change back. And then in the middle, I'm going to add a little bit of scenery so you know that section is going to force you in. It's not a surprise. So I'm going to go over to the track and find somewhere I'm going to implement this, and then we'll take a look. Because this Pro-X stuff is 20-some years old, this is the older style track with the 4 tabs, and it is compatible with the newer 3-tab track. It's just that the connections or the connectors are different. When we have 2 pieces of 4-tab, we're using these U-shaped clips to lock the track together. Now, for connecting an older piece of 4-tab to a newer one with a 3-tab, you're going to use a combination of one of these on one side and one of these on the other side.
A few moments later.
Okay, because it is 2-lane track all the way around, I disguised it as a construction zone. So, yeah, road and arrows here. This is the Pro-X one that will switch every time and force you over. And then we come around this turn, and over here, that is the standard D132 lane change, so that you can choose to change lanes back or stay where you are at the end of the road work there. Just a little close-up of the function here. This is the controller for the car. I'm just going to push it across with my finger as we approach the lane change. Automatically switch it, just like it'll do for every car that comes in the right lane. Yeah, that turned out better than I thought, actually. It changes the dynamic of the track just a little bit, adds a little bit more interest, and that's never a bad thing. But we'll see what the guys think about it when they come over to race. Now, I know the configuration isn't quite like the hourglass shape that Carrera has for their so-called chicane, but then again, it's not a chicane. It's a convergent track and a divergent track. Put whatever you want in between. So I did. It just so happens to be a 180-degree turn. So, call it what you want. In doing it this way, you get the same effect or operation for about half the cost. Now, if you're wondering about those Pro-X lane changes, why they behave the way they do, real quick overview of what's going on with the D132. That's the protocol that currently running on Carrera. The infrared LED on the bottom of the car is constantly broadcasting its ID. Okay, so car number 1 it'll broadcast at a certain frequency, 2 at a different one, and so forth. So whenever the car runs over one of those sensor tracks, that track knows exactly which car just crossed over. Okay, so when you hold the lane change button down, what you're doing is sending an instruction to every lane changer on the track that says, let's say if you're on controller number 2, it's saying, hey, if you see ID number 2 roll by, go ahead and energize the gate and you change lanes. Okay, so now the way that the Pro-X system worked is exactly not that. Okay, they had the infrared LED on the bottom of the car, but that was only on when you called for a lane change. So normally it's off, pull the button, the light goes on. So the lane changers on the track, all they're looking for is that infrared light. Okay, so they don't know the ID of the car that rolls by, anything. It's just like you see the light, change the lanes. So as a matter of fact, I can take my television remote control, point it at that lane changer, hit the volume button, and the flipper will engage. Got my TV remote here, infrared emitter, point that down at the track, and it flips the gate. So now you can see then when you're on a D132 with a car that's constantly broadcasting its ID, that all that Pro-X lane changer sees is an infrared light and says flip the gate. So just a little factoid that you didn't know that you needed to know, and you still don't actually need to know it. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if not already. We really appreciate you watching, and we'll see you at the finish line.